Okay. Yesterday I started talking about ADHD and what it means and some of the signs and symptoms of what children go through and how to spot it and what their life is really like. I mean, these signs and how they live, I mean, it's really kind of difficult. Yesterday's video, you can imagine, their hyperactivities, their inability to concentrate, their lack of focus, their hyper attentiveness, the difficulties that they face on a daily basis, not to mention the fact that their brains are going 90 to the dozen, and they actually do. And it's the same, and they run almost parallel to that of people with autism. Like I said yesterday, they actually do sometimes, people with ASD on the actual autism spectrum actually are diagnosed as ADHD. I will be using my notes. There's a lot of information. I never remember anything. I have to. It's just that simple. I know that there's a lot of creators out there that can reel off hundreds and loads of information without ever having to use loads of notes or whatever else, but I'm just not one of them. I don't care. I'm just not like that. My brain doesn't work like that. I can't do it. So, yeah, I figure it all out. I find it all out, and I whittle down my notes to the point where I can, work it and understand what I'm talking about. So I do use my notes because I have to. But the reality is, people with ADHD, they struggle in everyday life. People overwhelm them. They struggle in social situations. They have no control over their own thought processes and the way that they work. I mean, realistically, they're constantly moving around. They fidget all the time. They need a lot of guidance. They need a lot of discipline. They need people to, one, not yell at them. I think one of the biggest similarities between people with ADHD and autism is the constant need for actual talking at them when you're trying to discipline them, not scream, shouting, yell at them. And I find that really interesting, that they actually do run along that same parallel. Because people with autism, they run off tones of voices and how you speak to them. Yelling at someone with autism is just going to make them shut down, and they don't listen. They can't listen to that because they freak out. People with ADHD will do exactly the same thing. Yelling at them will get you nowhere. Setting boundaries with them, following through with those, consequences of overstepping those boundaries, but doing it in a way that, you're using your tone of voice, you're getting down to their level, actually speaking to them on a very human level. Most parents will automatically shout at children who are naughty. You cannot do that with people with autism, and you cannot do that with people with ADHD, because it just doesn't work. They won't respond. And so the fact that, like I said yesterday, people with ADHD will sometimes have autism, it did kind of make sense when you actually realise what they go through on a daily basis. But saying that, I did mention yesterday that if an adult is diagnosed with ADHD, it's because they've shown signs and symptoms of it as children. It does not develop in adulthood. It just doesn't. But in adulthood, the hyperactivity will lessen, and it's more, it's a subtle kind of, it's more the other side of it. I can't even, I'm gonna have to just, I did try, gonna have to. You're looking at attention. You're looking at the other side of it. So it's the attention deficit disorder. You know, if you are diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, the hyperactivity does lessen, even if you are struggling to like with the hyperactivity still. You are looking more at, you know, things like carelessness and lack of attention to detail. You're looking at things like you cannot finish tasks ever. You have this need. It's not like you want to. You know, it's like you start something and it's, you know, you're starting something, especially at work. If you are diagnosed with ADHD, you must absolutely tell your employers. It's not oh, I shouldn't tell them. It's, you know, I don't have to tell them. You absolutely have to, because at work it will make your work suffer. Because at work you will have things like, you will start a task, you will not finish it. You will have this absolute need, and it is a need, to start something new. You'll start this bit, leave it, go on to something else, and go on to something else. And at the end of the day, you'll have like 17 tasks on your desk, all unfinished. You know, and the problem is you'll never go back to them, because you won't feel the need to. You'll just start new ones. You know, and you'll never feel bad about that. Yeah, it's just something you do. You just don't do it. And you might even not do them that well, because you'll have no attention to detail. You're quite careless with how you act and how you work and how you do things. You know, and the details of anything you do will be, you know, bare minimum maybe, you know, because, you know, you don't prioritise that well, you don't have a lot of organisational skills, and you have poor organisation, you don't care, you have no priorities whatsoever, and, you know, have no focus, absolutely none, just can't do it. And it is, they are the similar kind of things as you'll find as if you were a child with ADHD. They're the similar things, but if you put them in the adult world, they can have quite disastrous kind of consequences. I mean, if you're not focusing or organising your things as an adult, it can have much more serious consequences, like not finishing your work, not paying your bills, not being able to focus on anything. You know, when you're misplacing and losing keys or your phone, or, you know, coursework, if you're in, you know, or if you're like projects in like big firms that you're working on, if you lose them, you take home important work and then you forget it or lose it, or, you know, it can have very, very disastrous kind of, yeah. So always make sure you tell your boss and all your colleagues that you are ADHD, because they need to know so they can support you. Absolutely crucial that wherever you work, they are well aware. Everybody around you, including your boss, is well aware that you have ADHD. Now, they cannot penalise you or fire you for that. They can't do it, but they need to be aware of it. And again, like if as a child, you will have things like forgetfulness, you'll be on edge, you'll be very restless. They're very much things and again, you cannot be, you'll speak constant talking. You will be the chatterbox of the office or the diner or the law firm or the strip club or wherever it is you work, the lab. Well, I don't care where you work. You'll be the talkative one. You'll be the one that will chew everybody's ear off. Literally, you will chew everybody's ear off, and you'll probably annoy them as well because you'll speak completely out of turn. You won't think before you speak, so you will say things that will upset people, but you won't mean to. It will be like children, you won't think before you speak. So whatever's up here will come out of your mouth. And again, a lot of these things that happen to you as an adult, you can imagine happening, will happen to you as children. So when it's happening in environments in the adult world, you can imagine the consequences can be quite more, a lot more kind of difficult to kind of manage, because when you're a child and these things happen, like when you're interrupting people and just, saying things that you shouldn't be saying, in front of people that you probably shouldn't be saying them in front of, like when you're insulting your boss without even meaning to, or saying things in front of colleagues that you shouldn't be saying, or, because you can't stop yourself, or interrupting important people when they're trying to give a presentation because you can't stop yourself from doing it. It will have a much more serious effect than what it would have done as a child. But I think the bigger differences would be things like, obviously, you'll have things like the mood swings. You'll be quicker to be irritable. You'll be quicker in your anger, in your temper. You won't be able to handle stress. You'll be completely impatient. So, I don't handle stress very well. I just don't. My FND means that when I get stressed, I start to spasm out. My hands will go, my head will start to spasm. I get migraines. The shaking gets worse. I don't handle stress. My body doesn't handle stress. When I get stressed, I can do things like have seizures, and the more seizures I have, the more my dissociation disorder will kick in. And I have to work really hard to stay cognitive, and that has many effects on me. But stress is serious, and someone with ADHD, I can't even imagine. As someone with FND, stress has a serious effect on me. But for someone with ADHD, my niece is only 7. I can't even begin to imagine what she'll be like as an adult, in the adult world, when she gets stressed out. She's like a whirlwind right now. She's everywhere. When she gets completely overwhelmed, she breaks down, she cries in a corner, and she curls herself up. As an adult, I have no idea what she'll be like. But if that is a sign of things to come, with someone with ADHD as an adult handling stress, or not handling stress, it's going to be awful. You know, I can't even imagine how that will make her feel as an adult. You know, if she's like that now and she gets overwhelmed, you know, you can absolutely imagine what it will feel like when she hits adulthood and she gets completely stressed out. I can actually imagine her curled up in a corner, crying her eyes out. Right about now, I can. It might not turn out that way, it might go a different way, and she might just freak out, yell, scream, shout, and like just have a meltdown, like whatever, and run off, and I don't know. But as it stands right now, I can imagine her like as an adult curled up in a corner, completing that meltdown. A bit like my son does. My son, when he has a meltdown, as an autistic, he'll curl himself up, he will shake, he will rock himself back and forward, he will have something to calm himself down, and he will, and he will have a complete meltdown like that. And that's the kind of thing I can imagine someone with ADHD, you know, rocking back and forth, curled up in a corner, you know, freaking out, you know. But I don't know. I've never come across an adult with ADHD who's had that kind of freak out. So yeah, that's not something I've experienced as yet. So yeah. But the impatience, oh yeah, I can see that. I'm completely impatient, and when I have no patience, I get really frustrated. And when I'm completely frustrated, I tend to get kind of nitpicky and really kind of, I can imagine her doing exactly the same thing. My niece, I can imagine her doing exactly the same thing. Getting very kind of, with people. I could be wrong about that too. Again, never experienced it, someone with ADHD in that environment, in that kind of state. But I can kind of imagine it. One of the biggest issues with someone with ADHD as an adult is that they are risk takers. Almost to the point of, dangerous. I mean, as children and teens, I did state that they are, they have no regard for safety. So it shouldn't really come as a surprise that they are risk takers as adults, and they don't really have regards for safety. The problem is they have no regard for anybody else's safety too. So they'll do things like drive erratically. They'll be reckless drivers. They'll do things like, they'll be the parachuters, they'll be the skydivers, they'll be the ones that will do like the climbers, and they'll do the ones that will do this, the cave thingies. They'll do the ones that do all the weird and wonderful, life-threatening, they'll be the thrill seekers. That's the word I'm looking for. Thrill seekers. They will be the thrill seekers. Because they don't care. They have no regard for any of that. They love it. They love that kind of thing. So they'll be the thrill seekers. But on a more serious note, there are things that you might find that come with a diagnosis for ADHD as an adult, because it's weird that as a child, if you're diagnosed with it, it's a very obvious diagnosis. As an adult, you can get conditions like personality disorders like bipolar, because of the mood swings. And I think that is a massive difference. You wouldn't ever believe that, if you're diagnosed as a child, the chances are that if you're diagnosed as an adult, because it's a much more subtle condition, you would find that your mood swings might be more severe, more intense, so you could get things like bipolar. You can get things like, you know, OCD. OCD is very, very common. A lot of people have it. So it's not that surprising because, well, actually it is. It's surprising that someone with ADHD would have OCD, considering how they are and the way they act and the erratic behaviours that they present with. But they do, and it does happen. I'm not quite sure how that works. I mean, with everything I've learned about with ADHD, they are very erratic, they are very almost unpredictable in their behaviours. You know, they fidget, they are on the go, their brains are going 90 to the dozens, they are always kind of moving on to the next thing. They're never what I would class as somebody who is meticulous. You know, they're always losing things, they're always forgetting things. You know, for a group of people that forget and lose everything, for a group of people that are very kind of scatty and erratic and never still, for them to have a condition that could actually be extremely meticulous. OCD is a meticulous condition. I mean, obsessive compulsive disorder is meticulous. And it might even be only one thing. I mean, it is possible. I mean, obviously it's possible, but it might only be that their OCD relates to one particular thing. So they've got a compulsive need for collecting things, or a compulsive need to thrill seek, or a compulsive need to do certain things, you know, or a compulsive need to clean. It could be anything, but I suppose in my head it seems a bit strange that, you know, a condition that it sounds and feels and looks on paper, and especially when I watch my niece, it's a very kind of whirlwindy kind of whoa kind of condition, you know, to have a condition that feels so restrictive in a sense seems a bit strange to me. But like I said, it could be something, you know, like cleaning. They could have a compulsive disorder to clean, or to count, or to collect things, or to do anything, you know, or to, you know, do any, you know, it could be anything, you know. So I mean, obsessive OCD, it is vast. It is an extremely vast kind of condition. People with it have so many different kinds of compulsive, you know, obsessions. You know, that it could actually realistically attend to just one particular thing they have this need to do. You know, so I mean, it's not completely out of the box. It just, when I see it and when I thought about it and when you kind of whatever, it just seems a bit odd to me. It just does. I don't quite. I can't quite marry the two conditions together. But like I said, it's quite a vast condition. And it could literally be something as simple as they have a condition, that they have a need to clean, or to count, or to, you know, plump cushions, or collect cushions or collect anything. You know, they might just have this need to collect things or to plump things or to clean things or to count things. You know, it could be anything, you know. But yeah, in my head I find that a very difficult thing to kind of put together, the two conditions. But my niece is only 7, and my niece is the only person with ADHD that I've actually really had any real contact with. Most people I know don't have them. I've never really come across anyone with ADHD or spent any time with anybody with ADHD bar my niece. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something I've had much experience around. So to me, it's a bit strange to have the two conditions together. But like I said, it could be anything or any condition, compulsive disorder. Yeah, it could be anything, you know. And yeah, it's not something I have any experience in or have much knowledge of personally. So it just seems strange to me. But to people who have experience of it or knowledge of or have lived with it, you know, if anybody on who follows me has ADHD or knows people with ADHD, you know, feel free to sit in my comments and tell me all about it. And you know, yeah, because it's always good to learn and it's always good to find out new things. And if I've missed anything, let me know. Alright, I'm gonna go, and yeah, I got one more picture to do. I've got one more thing that I gotta do today. I'll speak to you later.